take you on a whirlwind tour of the world's metal scene. Every Wednesday night from 10 p.m. to 1 a.m., you can hear some of the most unique metal anywhere, exclusively on WRLR 98.3.
Welcome to the Dave Mierswa Show, the cutting-edge talk show about legal, political, and current issues. Practicing in both Wisconsin and Illinois, David Mierswa is a leading trial attorney bringing nearly 2 decades of business law, family law, personal injury, and estate planning experience to you. The Dave Mierswa Show, about the people, for the people, and bringing justice to the people. The Dave Mierswa Show, its guests, agents, and WRLR are not rendering any legal advice. All listeners are encouraged to seek legal advice from properly licensed and qualified professionals.
Welcome back to the Dave Mierswa Show. Sorry about that, I just hit the microphone. So, I am having a great Sunday. I hope everyone is having a great lunch out there. Looks like a beautiful day outside, and as soon as I am done here, folks, I am going to get outside and enjoy the next month of summer. That's right, we only have 1 month. So let's get out there and enjoy it. I'm just kidding, folks. Hopefully we're going to have a long, beautiful summer. Okay, so we just got back from break. You're listening to Dave Mierswa, host of my own show, The Dave Mierswa Show. And if you're just tuning in for the first time, this is a cutting-edge show. This show brings you topics about social, legal, and political issues that a lot of people are afraid to talk about. I'm not afraid to talk about it. I like voicing opinions that a lot of people are afraid to voice out in public. So I took it one step further. I started a radio show. Okay, so we were just talking about before break, for those of the listeners just tuning in the family and friends out there, I am talking today on how to survive a divorce and custody legal battle. Let me say that again. How to survive a divorce and child custody legal battle. I was just talking about here in Illinois that in 2016, the legislative branch down in Springfield actually fixed some of the stuff under family law here in Illinois. Some of the stuff they still kind of screwed up a little bit. Like, for instance, in 2016, instead of custody, they call it parenting responsibility. Let me say it again. So instead of custody, they're now calling it parenting responsibilities. And also, instead of visitation, they're calling it parenting time. So whenever lawyers like to change things up, they always start new terminology. But basically, what custody used to be is now parenting time, and then visitation is parenting time, and then custody is parenting responsibility. Okay? So if you Google, there's some good articles out there on 2016 changes. Also, I should have some articles coming out about this probably in the next month or so. I also have a lot of other resources. And let me say again, all of my shows get uploaded to my website, law540.com, law540.com. There you can listen to my shows. And also, I upload within a day or so. All my shows get uploaded to YouTube. And all you have to do is Google Dave Mierswa, 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 and then you can see my pretty face on YouTube. And you can connect the face with the voice. And you'll say, wow, this guy is a handsome individual. I'm just kidding. I don't know. I'm just in a great mood. And let me tell you, I had a long week this last week. And I just was dealing with lawyers. For over 2.5 weeks, I was in court every day. And sometimes in the morning and the afternoon. And I just had my fill of lawyers. And I had my fill of judges. But I'm telling you, today when the sun comes out, it's supposed to get up really nice today, and all that just fades away, kind of like winter. Winter fades away, and we get 3, 4, 5 months here of good weather, and then winter comes in. So it's all in cycles. All right. So in 2016, Illinois family law changed quite a bit. So I just told you that custody got changed to parenting responsibilities. Visitation got changed to parental visitation. See, I'm still getting used to all the new terms. And the judges too, and a lot of the lawyers are getting used to a lot of the new changes within the law. Okay, so some of the other changes, some of the big changes was that here in Illinois, we used to have a fault system. You could sue someone for infidelity, mental cruelty, and so forth. And that has all gone away. And the legislator down in Springfield, actually, I agree with this. Believe it or not, I'm actually in agreement with the children that we call legislators down in Springfield. I'm actually in agreement with them. They have abandoned fault divorce here in Illinois. So let me say that again. The notion of fault has been done away with legally here in Illinois, okay? We just use what's known as irreconcilable differences. Irreconcilable differences, okay? Basically, it means you don't get along. Also, in the past, we still have what's known as legal separation. That's still a part of it. And that's where you're not divorced, but you can go in the court and seek some legal remedies, okay? And again, last week I talked about the difference between contested and uncontested. Okay, that's huge. And that's on my previous show that's been uploaded to YouTube. Okay, another huge difference that started here in 2016, they have a joint and simplified divorce. These are for really newlyweds or people that have not accumulated a lot in assets and or liabilities. And basically you fill out, it's like a 2 or 3 page form, you fill it out and you can get a divorce. But there's some caveats. To do this, you can't be married more than 8 years. Also, you cannot have any real property or retirement benefits unless it's less than $10,000. Also, your marital property has to be less than 50 grand. Okay, and then your gross income, they increase that from 35 up to 60. You can't exceed 60K a year in gross income. And then what else is in here? Okay, so that's kind of the parameter. So if you have less than 8 years marriage and you don't have any real estate or retirement benefits are less than, it looks like 10,000, and your marital estate is less than 50,000, and then your gross income is 60K or less, then you can use this joint simplified divorce procedure. If not, then it gets real complicated. Now, one of the things that I want to talk about here is that some of these other changes, this is huge. If you are injured during the course of a marriage and you're injured and you got a settlement during that marriage and that settlement didn't happen yet, but you are now in the middle of a divorce, those personal injury settlement proceeds are now part of the marital estate. So let me take 2 minutes here to explain the marital estate. The marital estate is all the assets or liabilities that occurred during the marriage or assets that were outside the marriage but then were commingled inside the marriage or in the marriage, okay? What else do we have here? The 2016 changes is that they made child support a summary event. In other words, we used to be able to have a huge hearing over child support. They made that more of a summary type in nature. Okay, last week I already talked about the affidavit of financial and assets that you got to fill out beforehand. I talked about that. Also, on a case, if you got children, you can expect to pay what's known as a guardian ad litem. That's a guardian ad litem. Okay, that's a GAL in short. And they are an attorney advocate for the children that goes out and investigate each. I just hit the microphone again, I apologize. They go out and they investigate the children, the household, and the parents. Then they report back to the court. Okay, I got about 5-6 minutes left here. And again, I just run out of time here. There are two main documents that you're going to need to settle a divorce. There's actually three. You got the judgment, okay, the judgment that ties all of this together. But the other two main documents is a JPA, a joint parenting agreement, then MSA, a marital settlement agreement. That's a marital settlement agreement, and then a joint JPA, a joint parenting agreement. Okay, and within this is where these main documents is where you divide up all your assets and liabilities. You talk about child support, and then you also talk about, if you got children, who's going to pay for the college and post-high school stuff. Also insurance. This is huge. You got to work something out with your spouse or your partner as to who's going to pay for the insurance. We also talk about daycare. You're also, here in Illinois, you are required to have life insurance and naming your children as a beneficiary. Okay, there's a certain amount there. And then this also talks about the distribution of the marital assets, who's going to take what and so forth. Normally the default is 50-50. Okay, we used to have at fault where it could be 60-40 if there was outrageous behavior, but today most likely everything's going to be split 50-50, unless one of the spouses hides some of the assets, and then some of the remedies would be to give the other spouse or partner more money, attorney's fees, and then that other person could possibly be put in jail and also charged with a perjury, because a lot of these documents you got to sign off on. Okay, so that's the marital settlement agreement, and then within the parenting agreement, the joint custody or joint parenting agreement, it's no longer called custody, you talk about who's going to take the kid to school, who's going to make the decisions for the education, the religion, and then the health, and basically the well-being of the parents. Okay, it also sets forth some of the guidelines. Also within this agreement, it sets forth a parenting schedule between the kids during the school year and then during summer. It also sets who takes them on vacation and so forth. And then also, I put in here, you have what's known as, and a lot of attorneys have missed this, it's what's known as right of first refusal. Right of first refusal. So if the main parent that's taking care of the child puts that child in daycare, they must contact, and if they're not going to be in work that day, that they must contact the other parent to give them a chance to take care of the kids instead of just throwing the children in daycare. Okay, what else is in here? There's also restrictions that I put in these documents. One of them is not leaving the state of Illinois unless you give 48 hours notice to the other spouse. You just want to know that your child's leaving in case there's an accident or whatever. Also, that's permanent removal from the state of Illinois. That's one of the things that I put in there as well. So that was what's known as an MSA, marital settlement agreement, and then a JPA, joint parenting agreement. Okay, and I got a little bit of time here yet, and to go over some more of the things here that you look for. Also, one of the changes that has taken place in the 2016 is that from the filing date after service of process, there must be what's known as a parenting plan. Let me say that again. After you file your petition for divorce, it's also known as a complaint. Okay, so you fill it out, and then you go to the clerk of courts in Lake County, which is located in the basement of the courthouse. You go pay your fee, which I think it's like $282, whatever it is. I already talked about that. And then here's another thing, that you must have these documents done beforehand, and the Lake County does not have a summons for a divorce. Maybe they changed that. You know, I've been using my own for the last 17 years. So you can Google it. Here's another golden nugget of advice. You can Google some of these documents out there, and then if you're going to try to do pro se or by yourself, let me take 2 minutes to talk about what pro se means as opposed to hiring a lawyer. pro se means by yourself. And this means that you don't have an attorney, that you are going into court and representing yourself as your own attorney. And that's known as pro se. And let me advise against it. Let me say that again. If it's one thing that I am in agreement with all the other lawyers and judges out there, is do not go into court without a lawyer. Okay, we know all the local laws. And number two, you are held to the standards of an attorney. Let me say that again. When you step into a courtroom, when you assume the role of a pro se, a pro se lawyer, you are assumed to have the knowledge of a litigating attorney. Do you understand that? In other words, you're held to the standard of someone like me who's been practicing for almost 20 years. And if you get it wrong, the judges aren't going to help you. They're not going to render you legal advice, and no one's going to help you. And so that's why you need a lawyer that goes in and has been doing this for a long time. Last week on my show, I talked about what to look for in hiring a lawyer. So you can go back and Google last week's show and listen to that. Also, one of the changes, again, that I just talked about was this parenting plan. The parenting plan must be filed within 120 days, I believe, after service of process. Okay, and if the parents can agree, and then they can file a joint plan. But if they don't, then you must file a proposed plan. Okay, so that's huge. That's another change that has taken place. And let me see what else. Let me back up. A couple other things that you need to be aware of. That the new code for 2016 has a look-back period of 24 months. So we take a snapshot going back 24 months, and we take a look at who was working. We take a look at who was taking care of the kids, who was taking these kids to school, and then we try to take that snapshot and we try to match that. What was going on for the last 24 months. So that's huge. So I got a case coming up next week, and we are arguing over parenting time. And in my petition, I put in exactly what my client was doing the last 24 months. And the other side didn't have 24 months of parenting time. So that's huge. Okay. Also, deciding parenting time, there are a whole bunch of factors that you look into. I can't list them all here, but it's huge. And I can't say enough. You got to hire a lawyer to go in. I don't care if it's small claims court. I don't care, what if it's for business. Here in Illinois, if you own a business and you're incorporated, you cannot legally represent yourself in court. You must hire a lawyer. And we do that to protect the business. And I can't say enough. I see all these pro se people come in and they trip over pennies. They trip over all these dollars to save a few pennies. And they end up getting ripped off, or the other attorney takes advantage of them and just runs them over like a train. So I can't say enough. You must have a lawyer when it comes to family law. Okay, so I highlighted a lot of the basics. Today I'm going to summarize that, before you really get into seeking a dissolution, make sure it's the thing you want to do, folks. Go in and get therapy. There's always time to get a divorce. Go in and get counseling and try to work out your problems with your spouse. Chances are, maybe it's just a breakdown in communication. So before you throw away the marriage completely, make sure you try to get in the counseling and try that first. Okay. Also, make sure you get a lawyer that's going to be able to fight you for your rights and stand up for you and let you know what the law is and what it isn't, and to go in and argue with it. I can't tell you how many times that I went in and I got such great results for my clients. And then also, I had clients that were served orders of protection and all that, and the other parents like, oh, they're never going to get to see the children again. Wrong. I got a case right now. where order of protection was entered against the client and the other parents trying to alienate my client. I got him to have the kids on weekends and dinner during the night, and now we're moving for overnight visitations. See, so there's a legal strategy that you got to have before you go in and some of the stuff. Okay, so I talked about child support. I talked about all the different percents. I talked about there's a separate child support order. Today, I also talked about the guardian ad litem. That here's another thing, that you think that you're just going to pay your one lawyer. You're going to end up paying attorney's fees to this GAL. That's a guardian ad litem that is an attorney for the child. So you're going to have fees for that. Okay, we talked about the MSA, the marital settlement agreement, the joint parenting agreement. I got 1 minute left here, and then I got to fly. So, in closing here today, I hope you friends and listeners found this very useful. And this show will be posted up on YouTube. So if you didn't catch everything, I packed a lot of information, and that's okay. This will be uploaded to my website, law540.com, law540.com. I got a lot of great resources there. Or go to YouTube and Google my name, Dave Mierswa, Mierswa, Mierswa. All of my shows are there, including the first show about how to survive a divorce and child legal battle. Okay, folks, I am out of here. Have a great Sunday. I will be back next Sunday, 12 noon. Take care of yourself now and your friends and your family.